All right, in this lesson here, what we're going to do is take a look at the development of the level class. And this is where things get very interesting. Now, I did say earlier things got interesting, and they did. Now things are going to get more interesting.
Imagine that.
At this point, things are going to start looking complicated for our beginners. This is a lesson that you're probably going to end up having to
rewatch
again and again.
Yeah.
Because the concept's not that bad. It's just what we're doing. Okay, it's just bad.
Yeah.
All right, for the beginner who has a hard time visualizing what's going on with pointers and memory addresses and arrays, and we're putting all this together now. Yeah, okay, this does get kind of bad.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do the best we can. Joel, as always, will walk you through it nice and slowly. And
do I really?
No, not really, but still.
And I'll be here to make sure he goes.
Dan will
nice
add
and
the
slowly.
supporting foundation that's required when Joel leaves a crack in the foundation. And I'll just stand behind representing the student union from time to time going, huh? So between the three of us, hopefully we can get across what it is we want to do with the level class. But we are to the point now where we have, that's right, we have we have our character, okay? We have a sprite, character driving from sprite, and we've got our game loop, and we have the ability to utilize the draw engine for drawing stuff. But we don't have a level.
No.
We need a place to put our character.
Right.
So, I mean, that would walls, some collision detection type stuff, so you can't walk through walls. I mean, while this could be done in a really straightforward way, there's some real simple ways of doing what we're about to do here. This is a far more elegant way because it's going to allow for some very powerful features coming up here real soon. And not to mention, it's time to start getting serious, right, boys and girls?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Hey, we're in Module 3 here, right? 3DBuzz is not about beginner content always.
No.
So with that, Joel, let's talk a little bit about the level class before we get into the code.
Okay, so the level class. A level defines where a sprite can and cannot move. So basically, if you think about the conceptually, we have a level. We have like a room, okay? We have pillars and all sorts of obstacles
and
in
hallways
our
and rooms.
in our level, in our room, and we have our character in our level.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the player just moves around in the level. If it hits a wall, we don't want him to move into the wall, do we?
No, because
that
would get a headache.
Yeah,
bam, bam.
Major headache, really bad. So that's basically all the level class is going to do. It's going to tie all of that together. So it will contain empty spaces and walls, our level. And a sprite can move within the empty spaces, but will be blocked by those that contain a wall.
Yep.
So very understandable. We will need to be able to create a level. So we're going to generate this level when the game is run, right?
Yeah, and we're going to do it randomly.
Yes, it's going to be a random level. We could, if we wanted to, load a level from a file or anything we wanted to. But
that would be future functionality, say, if the user wanted to put that
Exactly. And we will need to be able to add the ability to have a player in the level.
Yeah, because, well, we need someone running around the level.
That's right.
And so we're just going to pass a player.
Right, and another thing we need to point out is that the level class is now going to take care of our player.
Yes.
All right, we're taking the game class, we're taking him out of the player loop.
Yeah.
You know, he's not going to be controlling the character anymore. The level is going to be controlling the character.
Let's get this straight. You still have keyboard input.
That's right.
The keyboard input is going to be fed to the level.
Right.
And the level is then going to delegate that keyboard input back to your player.
Right.
So the player still has input going to it, but it's being removed one level. It's no longer direct. It's now indirect through the level.
Yep.
That's right.
From there, we're going to need to be able to draw the level, obviously, because if we just have the level, it's just a set of data, 0 and 1, or whatever we may have.
Just like we drew the sprite,
right?
We need to be able to display what the information is contained that defines our level.
Yep. And from there, we'll need to be able to pass input because we'll move the player from inside the level. So we're going to have a key press, just like our sprite has a key press.
Yeah, and that's
our character.
What we were just talking about a second ago with passing the data along.
And from there, we also have a function to let us process sprite functions when no input is present, something that's going to constantly happen. And this is going to be called inside of what function? Inside of our game class.
Inside of the idle update.
And the timer update inside of our game class.
Yeah, timer update, yeah.
And inside of our level class, we're going to have certain data that we need to hold. The width and height of our level. So we know how big our level is.
Which will be like 30 by 20.
Yeah, or maybe 80 by 30 or something like that.
Or something.
And we're going to have our level, which is going to be a double pointer. We'll get back to that in a second. We're also going to have our player, which is just going to be a pointer to the player that we create in our game class. And finally, our draw engine, which is a pointer as well that holds the address of the draw engine that we defined in our game class.
Just like we did with the sprite class.
Yep.
It's going to be the same idea.
And, of course, right down here, we're going to have to change a little bit of our game class, a little bit of our sprite class, and finally a little bit of our character class so that everyone works together happily.
For the level now.
Yeah, because we want our character to bump into walls.
Right, well, if you think about it, in the last lesson, we showed our character running around, but he wasn't looking for walls or anything like that. He was free to roam around.
It did not exist in the game,
exactly.
And we're going to integrate it into the game now.
Right.
Yep. So let's switch over to .NET at this point, and let's create our header file for our level class. So header file. If I make any mistakes, guys, just let me know.
We'll try to be there for you.
Yeah. So first thing, if not defined, level underscore age. So we're going to define level underscore age. So at this point, we also need our end if. Correct? Everyone's with me?
Yes.
Yes, it's looking good, like you're following the rule. We were actually just looking around for a printout of this.
For our cheat sheet, so we know what's going on.
Exactly, because I know you're so good you just make this up on the fly.
Yeah, you know.
But we have snapshots of your brain, and we're going to use them.
All right, so
and we do the public and private.
Right.
Let's just get that out of the way.
So
as
public.
It's part of our. It's a new rule.
It's a new rule, so that Joel will follow it. It's a rule.
So inside of public, we're going to use our constructor, and we're going to pass it just like we did with our sprite class. We're going to pass it the draw engine.
Yeah, because we're going to need the ability to draw to the screen.
That's right. We're also going to have our width of our level, and it's going to default to 30, and the width of, the height. Yes,
yeah.
The height of our level. And we're going to also have our destructor. So there. Now we have that. I'm just going to pretty much put all the functionality we need for the time being, because there isn't much. So I'll just put
So you're going to type out the functions that we need, and then we'll go back and we'll fill it in.
And the next one is a very obvious one.
Yeah,
needing to be able to add a player to it.
All we need to do is pass it a character pointer.
Yeah, so we say, hey, that's our character.
That's right.
Because that definition of the character will live inside of the game class. And we'll just pass it as a pointer into the level.
Yep. So we have our
I just threw.
He was like looking at me really strange. I was like, whoa. So now we have our update function, which is going to be called in which function again, Dan?
Timer
update.
Timer update.
Good. Yeah, right. So we have our update function. Also, we're going to have our draw function, which is going to draw our level. And finally, we have our key press.
Key press, yeah.
Which is just passing from the game class into our key press event. And a protected, which means other people cannot get it. There's another function called create level. This is going to be called from within our constructor. It's only going to happen one time. So create level. And we don't need to pass anything, so this is going to be void as well. Now, what private variables do we need? Well, as we talked about before,
width and the height,
the width and height. So width and height. Also, our double pointer, which we'll describe in a second.
Yeah, we're going to set it up in such a way that we can reference this as an array.
Yeah.
With two
brackets.
Brackets.
X and Y.
That's right.
You're going to love it, everybody. We got pictures, don't worry.
We're also going to need a pointer to our player. And finally, a pointer to our draw engine, so draw area. Whew. So that's everything for that. Now, let's go and create our source file. So add a new item, our CPP file, and this is going to be level.
CPP?
Level.cpp. And inside of here, we're going to first define our constructor.
Well, we'll go ahead and include
we'll go ahead and include it.
Level.h file.
Level.h. And we're going to go ahead and create our
level.
Yes, our level. Our constructor.
Our constructor, which we need to spell correctly. There you go.
Think,
which we, of course, need the draw engine.
And then our width.
I would suggest saying that to be W and H.
Yeah, good idea.
Just because our
variables are named that as well.
Width and height.
So, now this is the hard part, right? No, this is the easy part. We just have simply our draw area equals DE, right?
Yep.
Also, we're going to set our width and height, so width equals W, height equals H, right? Well, and then our player is just going to set, we're just going to set this guy to 0 now, which is sort of null.
Yeah, we're going to say, basically, set a flag that will say, we don't have a player yet.
Right.
Because we need to add a player at some point.
Yep, and if we don't have a player, we can't do anything
yet. We can't do some player functionality.
Right, so with that, that's actually the basics. Let's try to compile this just for a second. All right. All right, we're going to have...
How does he know about player?
Yes, there's actually quite
Yes. Yeah, the student.
The student corrected me, yes.
Right.
Ooh, scary. I'm getting scared now. Well, there's a lot of things in our level.h file that it doesn't know about.
Yeah, because we don't know about the draw engine. We don't know what a character is.
Right. Actually, you know what I think is the best approach in this case is just to go ahead and continue implementing this so that we have a base that can actually function, and then we'll worry about everything that needs connections.
Okay.
All right, so in our level.cpp, we're going to... He's looking at me funny again. This is bad. So we got our level. Now we need to create our level, right?
Okay.
At this point, we need to allocate the necessary memory so that we can create it. Now, how big do we want our level?
Well, we want it to be the width by the height.
Right. Now, at this point, we're going to be using our double pointer. So, back to a picture. You guys ready for this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing that you need to understand is that we want to create a two-dimensional array.
So
okay?
we want to make essentially graph paper.
We want to make graph paper. And inside that graph paper, we're going to have in each of the cells a 0 or a 1 saying is it a space or is it a wall.
So a wall would be a 1 and a space would be a 0.
Right.
Okay.
So to create this, we need to use a character pointer, double pointer in this case.
Well, we're using a pointer to begin with because we don't know how big the level is.
That's right. We want it to be exactly the right size. And we want to be able to access it. Let me just switch back over to .NET for a second. We have our level variable, right?
Yep.
We want to be able to say X and Y compared to our level. So if I wanted to access whatever was at, is this a wall or a space at 2, 2? And so we can say 2, 2. Or let's change this to 3. So that means at position X equals 2, Y equals 3, what do we have, right? So this is the way we want to be able to access it, using this notation.
I just want to say something really quick.
Yeah.
Level is the name of the class. Level is also the name of the variable that we're using as our map data.
Right, this is the character pointer.
But
I'll put that as a note.
I just want everybody to make sure that we're not referencing the same thing because of the spelling.
Right.
Level has a capital L for the class. Level has a lowercase l for the map data.
That's right.
I just in case someone out there is saying, "What? I thought level was a class." We'll just get that out of the way right now.
That's right. So if we come back over to our picture here, step number 1, allocate memory for a series of character pointers. So if you look down here, we have a character double pointer level.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So inside, we're going to say level equals new. But instead of creating 6 new characters, we're going to create 6 new character pointers.
So we're going to have an array of character pointers.
That's right.
Okay.
So these 6 cubes that we have going on right here, these are all going to hold addresses in memory. All right. That each of these is going to point at more memory.
Okay.
Right.
Each one is a pointer.
Each of these is a pointer. Step number 2. If you look down here, we're going to say for int I equals 0. I is less than 6, I plus plus. So this is going to loop from 0 to 5.
So for every pointer that we have in our array,
right,
we're going to make a new array.
Yep.
That is 6 characters.
6 characters, which is going to hold data.
Okay.
So for this one, we get to this one. We say, okay, create a 6 character array, and it points to this. So this right here is pointing at this area of memory that holds 6 characters.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So far, so good.
And the next one here is going to say, okay, I need this one to point at a 6 character array.
Okay.
So it generates this area. So each of these is data, and these 6 up here are pointers. All right, they hold addresses. So we allocate memory for each character array. At this point, if we wanted to access, say, a certain point in this, check this out. Dink. We can say level bracket 1, bracket 1.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to point at this area of memory. So 1, the first one here points at this one. So it says, okay, the first one. Then we go, the second one is going to point at which element in our row, which row.
So first we're doing the X
column
lookup,
and then row.
And then the row.
Right.
Okay.
So which column, then which row. So for the second one, which is the red one here, it's column 3. So ding, 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 column 3, row 2. 0, 1, 2. So it points at this one. So if you look at this as our level, we can say this one's 0, this one's 1. So this one's a space, this one's a wall. You can access it just like you would a grid, which makes it a whole lot easier to deal with. So let's go and create this inside of our level. Actually implement. Did that make sense to you?
Yeah, not bad at all.
All right, so inside of here, we're going to say level, which is our character double pointer, equals new character pointer. So it's an array of character pointers that's going to hold width.
So instead of 6, we want it to be
the width of our
level.
Right. So now we have the pointers that we need. Now we're going to create a loop that we can just say as x equals 0. Right?
And then you're going to do that
for the entire width. So we're going to loop through all the character pointers.
So for every character pointer in our array of level, we're going to make an array of characters.
Of character height. So x plus plus. Now inside of here, we're going to say level x. Now when we say this, we're accessing the individual pointers. And if I may, I'm just going to switch back over to here. So level x is right here. When x starts out at 0, we're going to start out with this character pointer. Level x, when x equals 1, is going to point at this next one, etc., etc.
Right.
So if we go back into here, we can say level x equals new character with how many characters? We want it to be height. So height number of characters. You know what? That's all there is to it. So that creates it. Now we just need to fill it up.
So why don't we put a comment right there, just for everybody out there, that says create memory for
right here?
level. Yep.
And again, really, before you go much further, one of the things you want to keep in mind is you're throwing around the fancy word new, which means you're
allocating
new memory at runtime, and so we need to make sure that we
delete it at some
point. We stay responsible and delete that out so we don't end up with any memory leaks.
Which we'll do
in the destructor.
Right.
So now what we need to do is fill this level up with something, because right now that data is not recognizable. We don't know what's inside of it. So we're going to have to say create the level. All right, we haven't created that function
we haven't made that function yet, but we're going to assign each of these memory slots, this memory locations, some sort of value.
Right,
which will be randomly generated.
Randomly generated except for the outside wall.
Yeah, because we're going to want to make sure that the character stays in the level.
Right. So let's go ahead and create our destructor.
So that we can be responsible for the memory that we made.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, if you think about it this way, let's go back over to Photoshop. Now, we're going to, remember, this was created with one new statement, these 6 character pointers. Right. So the way we are going to need to do it is we kind of delete what we allocated last. So we delete first what we allocated last.
Basically, we're going to be doing the creation process backwards.
In reverse.
Yep, in reverse.
And we're going to be using the delete operator instead of the new operator.
Right, so if you think about it, this area of memory down here was created last.
Right.
So we're going to need to delete that first. So if we had a loop, all right, that loops from 0 to 5. So we're going to say delete the area of memory pointed to by this element right here.
By 0, and then we're going to say delete the memory pointed to by
the second element 1, element 2.
Delete by element 2,
right.
3.
So we're going to delete this one first, this one second, this one third, fourth, fifth, sixth. After we delete those, we'll delete the character pointers. So we'll delete that last. So if we come back over to our .NET right here, what we're going to do is say for int x equals 0, x is less than width.
Because we want to delete everything that we allocated, which was
the size of the width, right?
Width.
And we'll say delete, ding ding, this just says that this is an array.
Okay, this is something we haven't seen quite yet.
Right.
It's a way for us to easily realize that we're deleting an array.
Right. It's not entirely necessary, but it makes it so that the programmer, when he looks at it, he goes, oh, I'm deleting an array. So after that, we can just say level x. Does that make sense?
So we're effectively deleting each column.
Each column. We're deleting each column. After we deleted each column, we need to delete the character pointers. So we're just going to say delete, ding, ding, level. Simple as that.
Okay.
So that's all there is to creating our level. Well, allocating the memory and deleting the memory.
We still have to make the function that will fill in the information in this double array, but we'll realize how easy it is to access now.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. That's the reason we kind of designed it this way. There's a million different ways. You could have created a function like some people would like to do.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, but in this way, this makes it a whole lot easier to access the memory inside of our level.
And we'll show that right now because we might as well do the create.
Yeah, definitely. So void level, create level, and inside of here it's going to be void. All right, inside of here, we're going to loop through every single element of our level. So int x. First, we're going to the outside. There's going to be two loops, the inside and the outside, right?
Okay.
The outside is going to hold all. It's going to loop through the x values. So width x plus plus. And inside, we're going to say int y equals 0, y is less than height, y plus plus. So basically, what we're going to be doing here. And I was just going to switch back over to Photoshop for a second. We're going to loop.
Just do me a favor. Get rid of the dots.
Oh, get rid of the dots.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thanks.
Because our outside loop goes from 0 to our width,
Mm-hmm.
that means we're doing the width first. So what that means is we're going to start it here, start at this value right here,
Mm-hmm.
do all the y's, go to the next x, do all of these, here, do all of these, ding, 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 like that.
Right.
So if we come back into here, we've got our loop set up. Now we need to put something in our loop, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So all we need to do is say int random equals rand. Now, what am I doing here? Rand returns an int, a random integer. And if I say modulus 100, just as we learned in the last lesson, this is going to give us a value between 0 and 99. So that's a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
If we have that, we can use this as a percentage. So, with this data, we can say there's a percentage of chance that we're going to create an empty block, and there's a percentage of chance that we're going to create a wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. Okay. If random is less than 90,
So if we've generated a number
that's less than
and
90,
it happens to be less than 90,
then we're going to create an empty. Because that means there's a 90% chance we're going to create an empty area, right?
Okay, so we want walls not to populate the whole level.
That's right.
And so if we only give a 10% chance
Of there being
being a wall, we'll have more spaces than we will
for running
walls.
around.
Yep.
Which is what we want.
Yep.
Yep.
So at this point, to access our level, this is how easy it is. Level X, level Y.
Ah,
Isn't that nice?
See, isn't
That's
that that's really nice.
So then inside of here, we can say, is it a wall or is it an empty space? Now, to make this a little bit easier for us, what we can do is create another enum that holds tile empty or tile wall.
Yeah, instead of actually defining 0 and 1 hard-coded,
Yeah.
what we'll do is we'll go back into the
Our header
top,
file.
or the header file, and we'll define what a space is and what a wall is based upon an enum,
Right.
which we'll be able to use
Wherever
elsewhere should we want to.
That's right. So back in our level.h, let's go into here and let's create an enum. So enum. Inside of here, we can say tile empty. With tile empty, this means that tile empty is going to be 0, and tile wall is going to equal 1. Right?
That's right.
That is right, because I said it. So inside of here, that means we want this guy to be tile empty, because there's a 90% chance this guy's going to be empty. Otherwise, every other one is just going to be a wall. And that's great, but
one thing we're not doing is we don't have a border around the entire level to kind of
contain our character.
Fence in the character.
We haven't fenced in the level itself.
That's
the outer
right.
walls of our level
are
missing.
Yes,
All right,
we need
they
that.
may be missing. That's kind of polka dotty, if you will.
That's right.
I mean, but mostly
Mostly
empty.
they won't be there.
Mostly they won't be there.
That's right.
90% chance they won't be there.
Yep.
So we need to see, basically, as we're going through this loop, are we dealing with
The top
the
row.
top row? Are we dealing with the far left side, the far right side, based off our width and height? Are we dealing with the bottom?
Right.
And if we are dealing with any of these areas, then we need to go ahead and put a tile wall there.
That's right.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to do.
Look, and that was from a student who just observed that that's kind of obvious.
Yeah, isn't that
That's a
great?
good thing.
That is
yeah,
very good.
That's very awesome. So if y equals 0, what does this mean, Dan?
If we are at the very top row
Right,
of our level.
That's
so if we're
Y
at the
is
very
up
top.
and down.
right.
So, yeah.
If our y equals 0, or our y equals the bottommost row, which is height minus 1,
That's
Because
right.
we're zero based.
Zero
That's
based.
or x equals 0, which is our leftmost,
Right.
or x
equals width minus 1. Yeah!
Oh, yeah.
The students rock today, baby.
Woohoo.
The union asks for a raise.
So inside of here,
No comment on whether we'll give you a raise or not. But.
So-
Cookie, be quiet.
if it does equals this, then we want to say level X, Y equals tile wall. And then if it doesn't, we'll just switch over into here, which makes sense. Another thing that we're going to add in as well is we want to make sure that our character isn't fenced in, right? So another thing we can do is say, because if we get inside of here, then that means it's an empty area, right?
Yeah, we want to give the logic so that at a certain grid space, it'll be empty.
That's right.
Because our character is always going to start at coordinate 1, 1.
Right, and just to show this off, let's go back into Photoshop here. If our character starts out here, we want to make sure that these guys right here, the surrounding characters, are all empty spaces. We want to make sure that's true so he can move around. So if we come back into here, we can just add another, or X is less than 3, and Y is less than 3. So that's that little cube on the top left corner. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So there. That's our create level. Lots of inner loops here going on, but that's all there is to it.
So why don't we generate an ability to draw the level?
Awesome.
And then we can go into our game and actually see what we made.
Right.
Because at this point, level is going to be containing
the information.
Array of arrays.
Yep.
That's just containing all the information as to if there's a wall or not a wall.
Yep.
How easy. It makes so much sense.
Wow. So inside of here, we're going to say our void. Almost forgot again.
Actually,
I did forget. Oh, you guys are just great. So we just need to draw this guy out. Now, this one is going to be easy. That's the fun part. So we're going to say draw area, and then, wait a minute.
It's missing.
It's missing. We don't have a draw background. So what are we going to need to do? Dan.
Include?
Our draw area does not currently have a draw background. And the reason for that is because we didn't define it in our draw area class, in our draw engine.
That's true, because we only defined draw sprite.
That's right. We didn't need to at that point. It really wouldn't have made much sense.
Because we didn't know about levels.
We didn't know about levels. That's right.
So at this point, we're going to just take this out and put in...
Just comment, yeah.
We need to draw the level, yeah. Right?
That's right.
And we need to go enhance our draw engine just a little bit.
That's right. So let's come into our draw engine, over to here. We're going to need our draw background. So let's add this in here as well. So come down into here, and void draw background. And we don't need to pass in anything.
No, we don't. But in our constructor, or in a function that we will add a level with, we need to pass our level to it.
That's right. So what we're going to do is come over into here and create our draw engine. We'll pass the level in just a minute, but first we just need to draw our background, which shouldn't be that difficult. So if we come down to here, well, actually, you know what? Why don't we just put it in a logical spot, right after all the sprite type data. So inside of here we can say void draw engine and draw background, since we've just defined that, and we're not going to pass in anything. Right? So that's cool.
Right.
So if we start doing this function here, the problem is, though, that we don't have the data, do we?
No.
We don't have the map data. Our draw engine doesn't know about the map data.
Yeah, we need to put it inside of our class so it knows about it.
That's right. So we're going to need to do two things. One is create a double pointer inside of our draw engine so that it can store that pointer.
Yep.
And another thing is a set map function, which is going to be able to have other people set the map, right?
That's right.
So if we go over to our drawengine.h file for a second here, and we can go down to our protected area and add in our double pointer. So our character map double pointer. Another thing we're going to need to do is add our set map. So we can say void set map, if I can spell.
It's been a long day, right, Joel?
Yes, it's been a very long day. So if we go back to our drawengine.cpp file, and we'll go right above draw background, and we'll implement our set map function. Set map is going to be a character double pointer, and I'll just say data.
And this is going to be just as easy as we've had in some other functions of just setting a variable.
Yep. So map equals data. Ooh. So inside of draw background, this is the easy part. If the first thing we want to do is make sure that our map exists, so that it's set. So we can say if map, which simply means if the map exists. Then we're just going to loop through it and print everything out. So we're going to start with Y.
So we're going to be looping it row by row, correct? But our data is set up column by column.
Right.
So we're going to have to do a loop where we loop down the y coordinates and then loop over on the x coordinates.
Yep. So y, although it doesn't really matter a whole lot because of the way we're doing it, but yeah.
Okay.
So inside of here, what we're going to do is just say for int x equals 0, x is less than screen width, and as we said before, screen height and screen width up to this point weren't used, right?
Yeah, they've not before, but we have them defined.
We have them defined. So at this point, we're going to start actually using them. So right there. Now inside of here, all we're going to do is say cout, and then see out the correct data. But remember, our map data, what does it hold? It holds indexes, right?
Yeah, it's going to hold numbers like 0, 1,
like
2,
0,
3,
1, like
4.
0 is going to be, I think it was our space, our tile space.
Yep.
Right.
And then we have our wall. Well, that means another thing, but let's just continue for a second, and then I'll add that stuff in a second. So if we just directly did map x and map y, another thing we're going to need to do right here is make sure we're at the correct location. So we start at the correct location.
So another go to XY.
So another go to xy, exactly. So go to, and we'll start out at 0, and here will just be y. So we start out the correct y.
So
position.
we always start at the left, and then we move over
Yep.
on the right. Then we drop down a line left all the way to the right, and
Exactly.
so on and
So right now, that should be all good. Now the thing is, we need to create our tile image.
Yeah, just like we did with the sprites. We had a bucket where we put images into it. We
That's
stored
right.
it. Well, we can do the same thing with our tiles.
Mhm.
So we can put a bucket of just tile specific, and
Right.
we'll have a wall, which is the little white square thingy,
Yeah,
and then blank spaces will just be a
which is
space.
just a space.
Yeah.
right. And it's going to be the same concept as we created our create sprite up here, just as Dan said. So we're going to create it to a function and a variable. So the function is just going to, actually, let's go into our header file. Always do it in your header file first. So inside of here, what we can say is create background tile. That's going to be the name of our function. It's not going to return anything, so we'll just say void. And we're going to pass it two things, an index and a character C.
And it looks surprisingly familiar, just like
Isn't that
Create Sprite.
amazing? Just like create sprite. So with that defined, we also need a tile image array. So character tile image, and it's going to be an array of 16 characters.
Oh, that looks familiar too.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it
does.
does.
Oh, wow. So right, so right above here, what we could do is say void draw engine, and then create background tile.
Yeah.
I'll get it right. So int index character C, and then inside of here, we can do just like we did before. So we check to make sure that we're inside the correct area. So
Yep.
index is greater than or equal to 0, and index is less than 16.
Then we are able to set the index
Right.
with a specific value.
So tile image and then the index equals C. So at this point, now that we have this bucket, we can get stuff out of it, right?
Yep.
So if we come back down to draw background, remember map XY is an index. So if we type out tile image, then inside of this we put map X and Y, which is going to be our index.
So we'll get the lookup of 0 or 1,
Right.
which we'll define as either being a wall or a tile at some point in the future.
That's right.
Yep.
So if we come over back to our level.cpp.
Actually, before we do that,
Yeah.
there's just one thing that I noticed. If you go back to drawEngine.cpp, you notice how we do the check if map?
Right.
Do we ever say in the constructor map equals 0?
No, we don't.
So
that's
that we
a
know,
good point.
So that we know that as of the class being instanced,
Right.
there is no map data.
Yeah,
and
so
then
we
when
should-
we call setMap, we actually have data.
That's
so
right, because
we
right
can
now
flag
map
it.
is just undefined.
Yep.
So we should say map equals 0.
Yep.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. I just saw that.
So let's come back to level.cpp here. As we were a few seconds ago, we need to draw the level.
Yeah.
Now we know how to, right?
Yep.
So what we can do is say draw area, arrow, draw background. But this also means another thing. We need to set the map, and we need to set the background tiles.
Yeah, and we're going to do that inside of the game.
Well, yes. Well, we're going to set the map inside of here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then we're going to set the background tiles inside of the game. You'll get it.
Yeah, I'll get it.
So our
It's been a long day for me, too.
So draw area, and we're going to say set map, and where are we going to pass it? Level. No, not level. Level.
Level.
Thank you. So right after we create the level, we set the map, right?
Yep.
And then at some point, we're also going to need to draw the level, right?
Yes.
And this is going to be done inside the game class.
Yes.
So if we go to game.cpp, dink, All right. As you can see here, our run is currently just using player.
Yes.
So now, as we talked about before, we have our big picture, right? Inside of game, we have our level. So that means that inside of the header file, the game.h header file, we need to have this level pointer, which we created.
Yes.
So inside of here, we actually need to start using it, right?
Yeah, it only makes sense since we have it.
Since we have it, we should use it.
That's right.
Imagine that. So inside of game.cpb, let's go right to run, and we'll say level equals new level. But the class. Remember, this is a class. And we're going to pass it the draw engine, so draw area. We're also going to pass it, well, actually, you know what? Right with level, we want to make sure that we create it with the right size.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is say 30, 20.
Okay.
Like, that's perfectly fine. Now, at this point, draw area needs to create the background tiles so that we can draw it, right?
Yeah, because we need to be able to load in what's what.
Yeah, what's what. He's like, oh, I can't say it. So draw area.create background tile. And this is going to be tile empty. Because remember, we have our enums, right? Dink. Tile empty is going to be a space. And then we're going to say draw area dot create background tile. And this is going to be tile underscore wall. And this is going to be the plus sign. So our wall is going to be a little plus, at least for now.
At least for now. Okay, that's fine.
Now at this point, we have the background tiles. Now what do we need to do? And we have created our level.
Yeah, because we made a new instance of the level.
That's right. And inside of the constructor, we create the level and set the map. So now we can just go ahead and say level draw. So this is going to draw our level.
Yeah, because in the game, we're only going to need to draw the level once.
That's right.
There is no need to every single frame to redraw it. We're going to do some special.
Well,
the sprite races itself and then it draws itself, and it's never going to hit a wall when we get that code implemented.
Right.
So we don't have to redraw the level. It doesn't make any sense to.
But at this point, we still have our draw area.create sprite and player new character. This is fine. We can put this. Let's put this right here at this point.
Okay.
But let's get rid of this player key press just for now, so we don't have to worry about that. And
we're going to augment this a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
we're going to augment this in just a little bit. So we're going to have a few compiling errors at this point.
Okay, I'm ready for them.
Are you ready for them? Buzz, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so if we Control-Shift-B this guy.
What? Whoa, yeah.
All right.
Book.
It's a book. So, first, screen width.
Well, screen width, yeah.
I can.
Yeah, that's better.
That's an easy one to fix. And, of course, we're going to have level. Identifier level is not found in this.
Yeah, because we don't actually have it included in game, do we?
No, we don't have it included in the game.h file, if I remember correctly. So if we go up to here, look at here.
Yeah,
our game
there's no level.
is not actually defined in this.
It wouldn't hurt for it to know about it.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt at all. So what we're going to do is just say include level.h, right?
Yes.
So if we compile this guy, level draw engine cannot convert parameter 1. Oh, I forgot to pass this as
there you go.
Man, all the errors. Wow.
Yeah, but this is good. This is exactly what people out there are going to be doing, the students.
That's right.
Yeah, when you program, you're going to get that little pop-up, that window, and you're going to say,
Yes,
oh, geez, I wish that hadn't have happened. But, hey, I'll fix it.
So, back to here. You should probably remember some of these. And now, the problem that we have here. Well, if we go back to our level.h, you'll notice something. Character is defined, but we're not using it yet, are we?
No.
So what should we do, Dan?
Well, we should either include it, or we need to do a little class external reference saying, this class exists, but you don't know about it quite yet.
You don't know about it quite yet. Basically, it's just preparing us to declare it. It's a pre-definition.
Yeah. And we're doing it this way because you will run into some problems if you use the include statement.
Yes, you will.
It's just something to do with the cycling of how we have the system set up.
That's right.
And if we do it this way, we're saying class character exists, it's defined elsewhere, and just believe us, and we can use it in our code.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if we try to compile this, we're still going to get errors, but don't panic. There's another thing that we're going to need to do inside of here. If we look at our level.h, are we ever including in draw engine?
No.
That's important, isn't it?
It is important because we need to know about the draw engine inside of our level class.
So we're going to include draw engine.
Yes.
.h. Dink. Okay, only one error left. Woo. Isn't that great? So rand.
We have to include. Is it time.h?
No, it's not time.h, man.
Standard lib.h?
Yes, I believe it was standard lib.h. Let me try to. If I'm wrong, Yes,
Oh,
that's right.
Joel's right.
I'm right. Ha, ha, ha.
You'll just start to remember
You'll
where
start to
things
remember
are.
where everything is after a while. So at this point, if we run it, we should be able to see our level. And voila!
Hey, check
there our
that
level
out.
is. Woohoo!
Yeah,
Isn't that great?
and if we hit the keyboard, nothing happens because, of course, we took that code out, so there's no player being displayed.
You guys didn't see me, but I was typing stuff.
Oh, I heard you.
Yeah. So if we press quit, we still get 29.4 frames a second. How exciting. All right. So from this point, we need to now add a player to our level.
Yeah, because we want the player to interact with the level.
Yeah,
so
that
we
only
need
makes
to make
sense.
some connections
Some
between
connections. And if you remember in our level.h, we have our add player, but we haven't used it yet, have we?
No, and I don't believe we've implemented it
No,
yet,
we have not implemented it. So if we go back to our level.cpp here, and let's put it right after our draw here.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me, too. So we can say void level, and this is going to be our add player, and he is passed a character pointer.
To a character class.
To a character class, right.
That's funny. I'm sorry. I thought it was funny.
Oh, man, that's bad.
Yeah.
All right, player equals P. That's all we need to do is set our current player to equal that. And another thing that we want to do is let the level control the key press.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because we want him to take care of channeling the key press events to our character, to our enemies, whatever.
Yeah, what if just by chance you had someone else who needed a key press?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense if everything's in the level to
Right, and
feed
he's
it,
controlling
feed
it.
it through. Yeah.
He's sort of the branch of control. So if we go back to level.h, you'll notice that we have this key press event that we now need to implement. So if we copy this, I know I'm using copy and paste now. Man, I'm getting lazy.
Well, as long as you say you're using copy and paste,
Okay, I'll try to remember.
I think we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So inside a level key press, what do we need to do? All we need to do is channel this to player key press.
That's right.
So first thing we're going to do, just like we did with our map, we're going to make sure that player exists.
Yep.
Which brings up another important point. What is that, Dan?
Well, we need to set it to 0, which I think we did in the constructor.
Did we really?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Wow.
Yeah.
I totally
I got
forgot.
a good memory.
I got a bad memory. All right, so if player, then we're going to say if player key press. This is going to say if it returned true or not, right?
Yeah, because if the player responded to the key press, we
Right.
no longer have to pass it on to anybody else.
Yep.
Because it's been handled already.
Yeah, so we'll just say return true. Everything worked great.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're going to return false and say, oh my gosh, something didn't go quite right.
Yep.
So at this point, let's go back to our game.cpp and let's make sure that we pass this to the correct people. So at this point, right after level draw, what do we need to call, Dan?
Level add player.
Ah, look, the student knows. Hey, I'm impressed.
The cool thing is, programming aside, it just makes sense. We got a level, now let's add the player.
That's right. Hey, isn't that cool about this design? Man, it's so
That
cool.
it just makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's important,
The
too.
only way it makes sense is as long as you keep grasp on the big picture.
Yep. It's all about that big picture.
Yeah, it is.
It encapsulates everything.
It does.
And what
The
you just
concept is
Oh,
just
sorry.
so clean.
Yeah.
You'll notice Joel just erased a line
Oh,
while we were
sorry.
talking. He was trying to sneak that in.
We commented out player key press. Remember, our game is not controlling the player's key press anymore.
Right.
Our level's controlling it. So instead of this, we're going to say level, arrow, key press, and we're going to pass it key.
Yeah, it's just the same that we had before, except we changed it to level.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now he's channeling that data across. So if we try to compile this, dink,
No whammies.
use of undefined type character. Okay. What we have going on here is that our level inside of here does not know about character. So what we need to do here, this is a little bit of a sneaky thing that we have to go on here, is include character.h. And just so you guys can see this, it's happy now.
Yeah.
So the way we have this set up, if we look back in level.h, we have our class character, so he prepares it. But if we go to level.cpp, we need to make sure that this level.cpp knows about it as well. It's just the structure of
Now,
everyone knowing about everyone else.
I hate to do this to you, Joel, but what happens if we were to put the include statement in the header and get rid of that class statement?
You want me to do that?
Yeah, I just want everybody to see,
Okay, so I'm
see
gonna
the reason why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
comment this guy out, and just put in include character.h. And it's gonna work fine.
It's going to build. All right.
Alrighty. All right. So there's the problem we have here is, let me look for just a second. I think Wait, what am I thinking here?
Well, we did when I was developing this and you were developing this.
Right.
We ran into a problem of including header files and where we can and can't because there's sort of a cycle effect that happens.
That's right.
We include
It's called circular referencing.
circular referencing. We can't do it,
Yeah.
and so this was a way to bypass the circular reference.
referencing, just in case this happened.
Yeah.
So this is more safe to do it the way we have here with class character.
Yes.
In this case, it's going to work, but if we develop a more complicated network, this sometimes won't work.
Yeah.
Right. So we can just leave it as this for now, but we're going to
keep it
this
in
here
mind.
and keep it in mind. Does that make sense, student, or
Yeah.
did we kill you?
No, it's good.
Okay. So if we press Control F5 at this point, and if we start, look, we can move it around.
Oh, but we're eating the level.
We can eat the level. That's kind of a bad thing. Because,
Well, it's like Pac-Man.
yeah, it is like Pac-Man.
Oh,
And
you went out the level.
I went out the level.
Oh, you had
and
some
that's a bad
issues.
thing, too. We
Yeah.
don't want him to go outside the level.
So what do we need to do?
We need to make collision detection. Ooh.
Ooh.
Everyone should be
Ooh.
mega scared right now. No, don't be. So if we go to game dot, actually, where am I going? Yes, I'm going to sprite.h at this point. So if I go to sprite.h, we're going to need to have the sprite know about the level.
Yeah, because we're going to do the collision detection inside of the sprite class.
Right, so that everyone that inherits from sprite is going to know how to collide with the level.
Yeah, which is going to be nice.
It's gonna be nice.
Based off what you just said, the very first thing you're going to do is include level.
Yes, I'm going
Since
to say...
Sprite now needs to know about it.
Right, so include level.h.
Makes sense.
Very good, Buzz.
Oh, man. Okay. So now that we have that, we're going to have to create an internal pointer. We don't have to, but our design is that we have an internal pointer to levels.
Yeah.
And we can access it at all times.
That way we don't have to pass around in function calls.
That's right.
It's there. Since we're going to have it for the whole length of our sprite,
Right.
it's just there.
It's
and
just
it's
a good thing to
convenient.
have.
Yep.
That's right.
And since it's a pointer, it doesn't take up a lot of space.
No, it doesn't. So level pointer. Now, Dan, how are we going to pass this to our sprite?
As a add level function?
As an add level function, exactly. So what we're going to do is go to sprite
Oh, no,
here.
actually.
Oh,
Let's
no,
just
we
pass
could-
in the
we could- we could
constructor.
pass in the
Yeah,
constructor.
we don't need an add level function.
We could.
We could.
We could.
But we won't.
But we won't. Because it just makes more sense to have it right inside of here. And before the draw engine, because that's the way I like it. So level L.
He's breaking the design. He's breaking the design. No, it's fine. Please continue.
Oh, so if we open up our sprite.cpp file, we're going to need to change this and the character as well, won't we?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to have to, since we're adding to the sprite constructor, we kind of have to filter through that information to everything else that comes from sprite
That's
class.
right.
Just because we have to pass that information back into sprite.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we can just say level equals L, but then we're going to have to go to character.h.
Yes, and do some fancy editing.
Ooh, fancy.
Ready?
Yep. Level pointer L.
Okay. And now we have to go to the implementation and do some fancy implementating.
Level pointer L.
And then we add it to the sprite constructor.
L. Isn't that great?
Yeah, and actually that pretty much takes care of it.
Yep, that takes care of it. So if we go back to our sprite, if I can find it, woohoo, here it is. Okay. So at this point, we're also going to need to switch over to our sprite.h in just a second, but let me just let you know what we need to create. We need to create one extra function, is valid level move. So the sprite's going to have a personal function that it says, wait, let me check. Is the place I'm about to move to a valid location?
Yeah, am I
allowed
going to hit a
move there?
wall?
Am I going to hit a wall? And creating this own private function is going to be very, very useful for us if we, say, create maybe an enemy or something like that.
Yeah, and say
it
we
has
have
to
to-
extend the move.
Yeah,
Right, and
yeah.
make it more better.
And we have to
more
rewrite
better.
More better.
More better. Woohoo. Yeah, and we have to, if we have this own personal function, we don't have to rewrite a bunch of code.
Yeah, and that's really the whole point behind functions.
That's right. So, we're going to have to go back to our header. I know, lots of jumping around, but that's the whole idea.
And Joel's going to type in...
I'm going to put it inside of our own personal protected function.
Yeah, because no one else is going
no one else is going to get it.
to reference it.
And it's going to return a bool saying, is it a valid position or not? So, is valid level move. Move, thank you. Int x position, int y position. Dink, dink. And I'm going to copy this. I'm copying it, Dan.
Uh-oh. He copied everybody. You going to paste?
And I'm going to paste.
Oh, jeez.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
So, is valid level move. Now, inside of here, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be checking if it's at the right position.
So first of all, we need to make sure, A, we are inside of the level.
Right?
And then, B, we have to check to make sure that wherever we're moving to isn't a wall tile.
That's right. So let's say if x position is greater than 0. Well, actually, let me do something different here. All we need to do is say if level, this is the level that we have, right? It's
Yes.
a pointer to the level. If the level's level, what
Which
is level?
The map data.
The map data. X position, Y position does not equal tile wall, right? So as long as it does not equal a tile wall, we should be able to move, right?
That's true, yes.
So let's just say return true. Otherwise, we're going to return false at this point, right?
Okay.
So that does seem like everything should work right.
Well, let me just conceptualize this a bit. We're a player on the level.
Right.
If I want to move left, I first call is valid level move,
Right.
which will be my position plus 1
Yep.
in the X. And so I get in there, I say, is the level data, is the map data at that point a wall?
Right.
If it isn't, I can move.
Right.
So I'll return true.
Exactly.
And if it happens to be a wall,
Or I return
I'll return
false.
false, which says I can't move there.
So if we go to our move function at this point, since we now have this, what we need to do is first create a temporary variable that says where our position is going to be after we've moved. So we're going to say int x position equals position.x plus x.
Yeah, because right now we're saying this is the move I intend to do.
Right.
Is it available to me?
Exactly.
And then if it is available to me, I'll actually move there.
Yep.
If not, I won't have moved my position at all.
Yeah, that's why we're not directly editing our real position.
Yeah.
So at this point, we also, since this is an integer, and position.x and x are both floats, all we're going to do is cast this. So we're going to use the C-style cast. Ding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm a C-style programmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to do that for y position as well. So position.y plus y. And now we can pass this to our isValidLevel move. So if isValidLevel move, and then we pass the x position and y position. So if that returns true, we can do all of this extra stuff.
Which is erase ourselves, move to that position, and draw ourselves again.
That's right.
And then when we get there,
We're
at that
going-
point we can return true.
And at this point, we're going to
We'll
return
return false.
false.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does, actually.
So let's try to compile this. And let's see how everything works with this guy.
See how many whammies.
How many whammies? Woohoo! Okay. Level character differs in level of indirection from level pointer. Da 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 da. Whatever. So if we go to our character.h for a second here, we're going to need to, if we go to sprite.h, in fact, let me go to sprite.h.
Oh, we have included level in that.
We have included level in this.
Yes, we have.
So what does this mean, Dan?
Are we going to have a circular thing happen?
We're going to have a circular thing happen. That's great. So what we need to do is go to here. I'm going to uncomment this.
Okay.
Because this is where we can run into problems like we were talking about before.
This is the circular thing.
This is the circular thing. So now let's try to compile this. And look.
Oh, wait, the errors went down dramatically.
Yes, they did.
From 10,000 to 4?
And here's the problem that we had with this one is, look at this. Character L, level pointer L.
Oh.
Wonder what that means.
We can't have the variable name.
No,
I
so-
want to do like LVL or something.
LVL. That brings back memories, LVL. I don't know why, it just does. So if we compile this, dink, character, no overloaded function takes 2 arguments. Why? Because we now need to pass in the pointer.
Yeah,
to our
because we
level.
changed the constructor
We
type.
changed the constructor. And finally, cannot convert parameter 1 from level point. Oh, well, I don't need to pass the address of an address.
Oh,
we
isn't
just
that
pass
great?
level. Man, I should figure this out by now. And finally, level cannot access private member declared in class level.
Now, which line is that on?
This line is, I'll show you. If we go back to...
Just double-click.
I double-clicked. I didn't double-click. Inside of here, we're accessing the private member function level. That's because we're not a friend, are we?
No, we're not a friend.
We're not supposed to be able to access a private member inside of it. Now, there's 2 ways we can fix this. We can either make the level data that's inside of level public, so that everyone can have it.
Yes.
Or we can make sprite.cpp a friend of level. A friend of level.
Level.
Right.
I I know what you're talking about.
Right.
But you're beginner at this point. You're introducing a new concept, actually.
Yes, I am.
Well, here's a big picture.
Okay.
Let me
Big picture.
just try a big picture here. If a friend comes over to your house, okay, typically you don't care where your friend goes in your house.
Typically.
You really you don't really care if, say, your friend uses your VCR.
Right.
Or your TV.
Yep.
But if a stranger from the street comes in and knocks on your door and says, "Hello, I'd like to sell you a vacuum cleaner,"
Right.
you're not going to invite them to watch your TV or use your VCR.
Typically not, unless you're
So
crazy.
that's a friend.
Come on in.
And that's exactly what a friend class is. If we declare a class as being a friend, they have access to our data and our functions.
That's right.
Is that a good enough big picture?
It is. Everything? They have access to everything?
Yes.
Everything that's public and protected.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to pull that out.
Yeah, because your private stuff is still
I
private.
didn't want you going through my underwear.
Yeah, I guess you can think of it that way.
So if we come back to our, let's see, our level.h file, what do we need to do here? We need to go into here and say friend class. Let's see, friend.
We want it to be level.
What?
We want it to be sprite because we're in
Yes.
level.
Friend sprite. Just 1 second here. So at this point, what we need to do is make sure that our sprite is a friend, right?
Sure.
So if we compile this, of course I'm forgetting my syntax here. So sprite friend not permitted on data declarations. Duh. So what we need to do is make sure this is in public.
Duh.
Okay, so now?
All right, I don't know exactly what I was thinking here, but all we need to do is just put in here friend class sprite. I think it's just getting late. Maybe that's it. Yeah. So if we press Control-Shift-B at this point, all right, so the syntax is simply friend class sprite. I mean, that's kind of simple, isn't it?
Right.
It just sounds like
Seeing how
it's supposed
Sprite
to be
is
said.
a class after
Yes,
all.
and our friend class sprite. That makes sense. But, okay, if I do that one more time, I think I'm going to die. I keep trying to say the output of the build here. I don't know why. But with that build, everything should work, right?
Yeah. Well, right now we should have collision detection.
We should have collision detection.
And our character should be in the level.
Yep.
And we should see the character not.
And Buzz wanted to say
collide.
something.
Yeah, and representing the student union out there right now.
Student unions rock.
Our beginners are probably very, very confused because the whole idea of this cycling thing that you're talking about, as you guys keep referring to, the cycling thingy.
The cycling thingy.
Is probably a bit confusing, but that's okay. I think we can just address that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the friend thing, Danny did a good job on that.
Good job, Dan.
But I guess what we can do is
vacuum cleaner friend.
we could just wrap all that into another lesson so we don't lose focus too much on what's going with this.
All right, so what we need to do is, as we see, we have 1 succeeded, 0 failed. That means it should work. So if we run our level at this point, dink, and we start moving around.
I can't walk through the wall.
Joel is pressing the key if people can't see it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Because you can't.
Oh, look, I am compiling. I mean,
You're compiling. Awesome.
I am running into walls.
But of course, we're an evil monkey, but we can change that by just changing the icon.
Yep.
Very nice.
Isn't this great?
That's awesome.
So there's only one more thing we need to add to our level to make it complete.
Yes.
So let's quit, and we still get 29 frames a second. Woo-hoo! I know this is an advanced game we have going. Oh, man, I can't believe I did that again. So if we go into our level.h file, we have our update function. Now, when's our update function called, Dan?
Our update function is going to be called whenever we are in a timer update.
Yeah, I can't believe you knew that. That's great.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is implement
cool.
this. Reason number 1023. So inside of here, we're going to need to implement this function. So right here, we're going to say void. No.
Level.
Yeah, void level. I'm in the game class.
You complain about me. Level.
Update. And it's going to be passed void as well. And inside of here, at this point, we're not using it, are we? This is for when we call simulate AI, which is going to be where our enemy comes into play.
Let's drop a little comment in there that says, here we will be able to process
fireballs
and enemies.
AI, all the stuff like that in the level that needs to be updated.
Oh, Joel's trying to remember what was said. That Buzz wants to include.
Okay.
That's better. That's fine.
Okay, so with that, we need to now call this inside of our game.cpp. We're not going to see anything, but we just need to have it there.
We're just going to put it there
future.
so that when we need it, it'll already be there.
So we have timer update, right?
Yep.
Inside of here, what do we need to do? We need to say level dink, dink, update. We compile this guy. Ooh, everything works. If we do this, oh, look at that.
Yeah, nothing's changed except we have an extra empty function call that is doing nothing but being called.
Yep.
Which is great.
You could add one more thing to this whole thing just to kind of clean it all up a little bit.
I think I know what you're going to say.
What is that?
And making the player visible at first?
That would be one.
Okay.
And then the other one would be just at the very end when you hit Q, just do another go-to just to throw you down at the bottom so you don't wreck your...
I like that thought.
Oh, just trying to make it nice and pretty.
Just a quickie, since now we are starting to get some visuals and plays and clean things up. And get those pluses out of there. And then after you accomplish all three of those, I'll be happy.
Alrighty.
I'm not demanding. Students are always demanding.
All right, so we have our draw area, dot, go to XY. In fact, though, this is protected, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't directly call this.
No, why don't we do it in the level destructor?
In the level destructor.
We'll just go to the
actually, you meant the draw engine destructor.
Yeah.
Good job, Dan.
Yeah, I did.
So if we go into here,
I'm so happy.
Which is aware of screen width and
which
height.
is aware of all sorts of extra stuff.
Who cares about the all sorts of extra stuff? It knows the screen width and screen height.
Yes, sir. The screen.
You need a capital H there.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But this is the X. So 0 and screen. Oh, that's great. So if we compile this guy, it's happy because it knows about code 2XY. I think I'm going to need to go down one. So press any key to continue. All right, here's the reason. We're printing it before the thing is done, isn't it? So press any key to continue is being correctly put in place.
Yes.
But these guys up here aren't. So what we need to do to fix this is come over to our game.cpp, and right here we can just go ahead and, well, actually that's going to make it a little hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well, why don't we just do another go to XY? Well, that's private. So we can't do another go to XY.
No, we can't do another go to XY, can we?
And the student throws a monkey wrench into the smoothly turning gears.
I have a solution. Comment out lines 49 and 50.
Exactly. Because we know the frame rate's good.
Oh, man.
Hit Q.
Q.
Oh, it's beautiful now. How's
so
that
much
look?
cleaner.
It's so much cleaner.
Now we need our character to start out visible.
Start out visible. This is going to be very difficult, isn't it, Dan?
Sure. Player move 0, 0. Wow. Now go ahead and do it. Because, of course, the move function gets called.
Didn't do anything, Dan.
Oh, I guess I was wrong, Joel.
One way we can do this.
I felt so good about myself for a second. Thanks.
All right. Actually, what Dan does have a point in this, saying something here, is if we go to player move, all right? So let's go up to our character, if I can find it, character.cpp. Remember, our character.cpp is getting stuff from where? It's inheriting from who?
Sprite. Oh, Sprite.
Sprite, thank you. I thought you guys could read my mind.
No, we're
Jeez.
missing that one key word.
Oh.
Inherit.
So is valid move, should work, it should erase the sprite, and then it should move it, draw it at the correct location.
Yeah.
That's what Dan was thinking. In fact, that should be right. So what we need to do is go to our game.cpp here, and go to here, and the reason we're not doing this right, let's put this right before our while loop begins. Okay?
Oh, I know what happened.
Yes, I think you do.
Yeah.
Think.
You see, what happened in the processing, this gets back to steps.
Yep.
What you do first before you do second.
Yeah.
In this case, I said, well, let's draw the player.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, cool. Then the next line was, well, let's draw the level.
Yeah, and then what does the level do? It covers our
covers
player.
everything.
There, yeah.
Yeah, so now we can see our character. When we press Q, everything's happy.
Very nice.
So that should be everything that we wanted to talk about in this lesson.
All right, awesome.
It's been an adventure.
Again, as I said at the very beginning of this lesson,
beginning,
our beginners are going to probably need to watch it a couple of times because this is where we start to get a little bit more involved because we're jumping all over the place to make these other classes adapt to level and everything work properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So with that, that's going to wrap up this lesson. Thanks a lot, everyone.